What is going on, folks? It is Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm coming at you once again from the X-Lair to provide you my very deep and insightful thoughts into just the general MCU, like the general state of the MCU now, sort of reflecting on what's come before and, looking forward. We just had, what is it called? Disney Celebration, D23. And they had a big Marvel panel. There was a lot of information given. Not a lot of new information, but it sort of kept us moving towards the things we know are coming. There was no mention of the unnamed movies in Phase 6, yeah, that were left blank during the Marvel panel at San Diego Comic-Con. So there's still that to sort of always speculate about until we actually know what is going to happen and what movies are going to come into play during those segments. But clearly, they're either... So it was assumed they were holding back those titles because during Marvel's panel at San Diego Comic-Con, they didn't want to kind of blow their load on all the big news, and they wanted to save stuff for D23 because that's more of a signature Disney event rather than being at this kind of signature geek event. But it looks like that wasn't the case. So it might be because they're either still saving it, that they didn't reveal those movies, or it's spoiler territory. Whatever those movies are will be spoilers for whatever's coming through Phase 5. Because we're about to finish Phase 4, I believe, with Wakanda Forever, right? And then we're going to jump into Phase 5. Now, we did get an announcement of the Thunderbolts cast, which I'm very excited about. I really like Florence Pugh as the new Black Widow. I like the Red Guardian. What's his name from Stranger Things? David Harbour. I enjoy Sebastian Stan as a Winter Soldier. I feel that he could have a bigger sort of role in the MCU, and it looks like this movie could give that to him. I like that they're bringing in Ghost, because Ant-Man 2 is not really one that I like to revisit. I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. I do need to go back and revisit it at some point, because it deserves that. There's a lot of work put into it, and it is enjoyable, but the whole Ant-Man solo movies have never been truly my bag. And Ghost, I feel, was sort of just a secondary character to the bigger story. I mean, we were right on we already had Infinity War at that point. We're all wanting to know what the fuck is going to happen next. Half the world's been snapped out. Half our superheroes are gone. That's a big one. And then we were, we went through this side journey, and the only thing that really resonated from Ant-Man and the Wasp was the after credit scene when Scott is caught in the quantum realm and everybody else disappeared, right? That's the only thing that really resonated, because we were already at the snap point by that point. So the Ant-Man movie's never really that important. Ghost, to me, became irrelevant. I'm glad they're giving her another shot. I'm glad she's going to be in the Thunderbolts and have a role and maybe actually have a character, and that would be cool. Now, with respect to the... what's the last one? Taskmaster. With respect to Taskmaster, that's another character that I didn't mind the gender switch thing they did and sort of the way they portrayed Taskmaster in Black Widow, but clearly fans in general weren't happy, and maybe the intent wasn't always to kind of carry that version over, and this may be the actual Taskmaster that we saw previewed in the photo of the cast. So that's an interesting thing. I'm happy to see Taskmaster back, and I'm happy that we'll get to see Taskmaster become something more in the MCU. I have a feeling this movie is going to be really good. I have a feeling it's going to be exceptionally good, and I don't know, I'm really excited about it, because just David Harbour fucking with Florence Pugh and Sebastian Stan, that itself does it for me. So, if it was just them three, I'd be cool with it. But since they're going to bring in these other characters, that's even more exciting. I'm really happy. It's this fun team up soup, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it can I mean, it'll be fine at the very least. It's not going to be a Sony Marvel film, so as long as like it will never hit that level, and we didn't know what was coming, and so this is like it's a good thing to reflect back on the first phase of Marvel when Iron Man 1 came out and The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk didn't resonate that hard, but Iron Man 1 was a huge fucking hit. It was like the hit of the summer. It was like the movie. Nobody expected it to be as big as it was, and then it was. And then, obviously, it was hinted they were building up to Avengers, but you didn't know if that would actually happen because they've never done something like that in the past. They never actually were able to converge a series of films into one film. Then eventually we got Iron Man 2. Not everybody loved it. It's fine for me. I enjoy watching it. It's Mickey Rourke as like the dude. Give me my bird. I mean, that's hilarious shit. I want my bird. And fucking what's his name? The dude that played the corporate villain. I forget his name, but I fucking love him. And he did. There's a lot to like in that movie. Okay, it's fucking entertaining. Okay, all right. Anyway, they did that and everybody loved it. And then we had Thor and Captain America. Both of those fell flat for me because they felt very much like two acts, and then the third act was Avengers. Like both of them had the first two acts of a movie, but they didn't have that fucking that payoff in the end that just like punched you in the face. Neither of them had it. They felt very generic, kind of superhero stuff. But at the end of Captain America: First Avenger, right? It was Iron Man 2, Thor, and then Captain America: First Avenger. Post-credit scene, trailer for Avengers. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, all in it. Oh, okay. So this is where it's going. This is very exciting. And then we got Avengers, which was fucking amazing. It was one of the best fucking movie experiences I think most people have ever had if they're into this kind of thing. And then that made the prior movies feel fucking important, right? And so I'm thinking Thunderbolts will do that for these characters like Ghost, Taskmaster. Like people will go back and appreciate like Ant-Man 2 more, and Black Widow more. Like they're gonna go back and like appreciate that because there's gonna be continuity that converges to something cool. Like you gotta assume that at this point, if they're doing a team up movie, it's going to fucking be awesome. On some fucking huge like level of just like expenditure, spectacle, superhero shit. All of these people are badasses. They're like, none of them have superpowers, right? I mean, Winter Soldier Bucky Barnes has taken the serum, right? So he's been augmented. Red Guardian has taken the serum as well, right? So he's augmented. Taskmaster's power is based on technology, and then Ghost is based on, it's not, I guess it is a superpower, right? Like she can sort of phase out of reality. Okay, that's useful. Okay, so there are superpowers there. Okay, anyway, interesting stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing where it all goes. I think it's going to be an interesting soup, and I'm looking forward to it. Fucking the Thunderbolts. Let's do it. Give it to me, Marvel. I'll take it. I'll take that, Marvel. I'll take that. Take those Thunderbolts. Captain America, New World Order. This dope director was announced. I don't know his name, but I saw him interviewed, and he seems like he's got his shit together. He's got a plan. He's got a vision. Like, I'm excited about it. And it seems to be very much a sequel to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Disney Plus series. Isaiah Bradley is going to be in it, right? That the character that also took the serum. He was a guinea pig for the government. He was basically experimented on, and then they sort of erased him from history. It's very fucked up what they did to him. And every time I watch that show, because I've seen it a couple of times, and I plan to see it more. The scenes with him, especially when he's like being just laying it all out on the table, being sincere about his experience, like is always kind of chokes me up, and it kind of gets to me because it's like pretty powerful shit. Because first of all, in reality, we know that the government fucking the Tuskegee experimented on African Americans and other people in our country, and it was fucked up. So that resonates as authentic, and then this obviously takes it to another level because race is also involved. So it's like it's a very powerful story, and I'm glad we're gonna bring him back in and kind of see where he's gonna go, because I love the actor. I don't know the actor, his name, but he's fucking phenomenal. Like, he really brings that authenticity to his performance. So I have a feeling that Captain America, New World Order is going to be fucking amazing. I have a feeling. I'm just saying. They say the director said it's going to be a paranoid thriller, you know, so kind of keep it along the vein of like sort of that like thriller kind of area where it kind of landed with Winter Soldier. So that's cool. I'm looking forward to that. I think I'm very excited for that, actually. I mean, you know, people don't like Thor: Love and Thunder, and I don't mind it. Like, I enjoy, like, there's entertainment there. In fact, I'm going to watch it tonight. I haven't watched it on Disney Plus yet. I watched it in the theater twice because it was entertaining, you know? Like, does it move everything forward? Is it authentic to Thor? I don't care. I've never been a Thor guy. So, like, I like that they brought Jane Foster back in. Like, sure, it's over the top silly, but I like Taika Waititi. So if I don't think about this as an MCU movie, I think of it more as a Taika Waititi movie, then that brings enjoyment to me, you know, because it's like his personal touch is a fun one, and it's a signature one, and maybe it's not for everybody, and maybe it doesn't work in every movie or genre, but nonetheless, it's there, and he's true to it, and it's consistent, and I got a lot of laughs out of it. Are a lot of laughs not that great? Sure. Were some of the choices made overall in the plot and whatever questionable? Yes. Could Gore, the God Butcher, have been more menacing and terrifying and just a better villain? Yes. But in the end, those things did not happen. But overall, we got some Guardians action. We got a lot of action, a lot of spectacle. It's beautiful. I don't know. It's enjoyable. Am I going to go back to it on a regular basis? Is it top 5 Marvel for me? No, absolutely not. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, though, is in the top 5 for me, because that is Sam Raimi goodness. On top of, we got the X-Men in there. We got this crazy bloody like sequence where Wanda just kills everybody, which was fucking insane to watch. I mean, that's candy right there. That's Marvel candy. We got a lot of good shit in that movie, and I fucking love it. And it's in the top 5 for me. And if you don't like it, fucking don't at me, bro. Don't at me. #bro. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so there's that. We got so She-Hulk's going on right now. I'm enjoying She-Hulk for what it is, but I don't like to judge these shows per episode, because like I don't think they're ultimately intended to be like self-contained like segments that we can artistically judge on its own, because the way it's clearly these shows have been structured is that they're like a long Marvel movie. And so until I get the entire Marvel movie, like I don't start judging the movie when I'm watching a movie at the theater. And like if I have to go to the bathroom, when I go to the bathroom, I'm not judging the movie. I'm not like analyzing it and like tearing it apart. And like we don't have intermissions anymore where people are just like sitting in the middle of the theater during like, you know, a 15-minute intermission, fucking reflecting on the first half of the movie. Like that's not how it works. Like you go in, you watch the entire thing, and then you kind of let it resonate, kind of let it sit, and then overall you get this sort of reflection of it. Like, did I like it overall? And then you can start sort of picking it apart if you want. But if you liked it overall, for me, like that's usually sufficient to not have to pick it apart. But whatever, to each their own. Obviously, people need to pick things apart because that's just the way of the human, right? So like I'm not gonna judge She-Hulk until it's done. I have yet to go back to Moon Knight and watch it as like a singular experience. So when I do that, I will pass judgment on it. I have not done so far. I did enjoy it, but I need to know, like, do I like it as this like unified thing? So I just finished watching Game of Thrones again. I rewatched Game of Thrones, and like I watched it, and it is like this complete story. Like, and it's so rich, and there's so many characters and so many storylines. But if you watch it all, like all the threads sort of expand out, and then they all come together, and it's so fucking satisfying. Now, you know, people might think that there were questionable decisions made or things were rushed. And it's like if you watch it as like this like this singular experience. I couldn't do it in one sitting, obviously. It took me about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. Whenever I had like chunks of time, I would get some episodes in. But it was a unified experience because it was all fresh. By the time it was done, it was like, yeah, that's a logical ending for me. Like Daenerys, she was always kind of a tyrant. She was always on the verge of kind of becoming tyrannical. Like she was going to crucify all the masters in that city. Marine, I think it was, that she took. And who talked her out of it? It was her advisor. I believe it was Jorah. She lost Jorah, right? In the long winter, in the long night, which is one of the best episodes of television ever. And it's such a great culmination to the White Walker story. It doesn't matter that it doesn't happen at the very end. It doesn't matter. It's fucking amazing. It's a cinematic feat. Like the scale of what they were attempting to accomplish was so big, and clearly they did not have the budget for it. And that's why I think ultimately it winds up being darker than people would like in general. That's the only flaw of that episode. It's just a little bit too dark because there's so much going on, and you want to relay the magnitude of the volume of what's happening, that if you really look at it clearly, it might not look as good because they probably couldn't spend enough money to do that. And I'm fine with it because they attempted something so big and they pulled it off as far as I'm concerned. I can forgive them for that. Anyway, that was a great culmination. And then Jorah died, right? And then Messiah, her advisor, the woman that she bought as a slave, but then she freed. Damn it! How am I losing? Missandei, something like that. Like she lost her, she lost a dragon, then she loses another dragon. So all these things have like gripped her. She hasn't been eating. People are turning against her. She sees a city. Okay, I'm going on a Game of Thrones. Oh my God. I'm like trying to justify Daenerys' final actions. But the point is that I believed it, especially seeing it all come together. And like I viewed season 7 and season 8 as one season, as opposed to seeing them as two seasons, because they were planned out together. Like they told us, oh, by the way, we're going to finish off with having 8 episodes here and 7 episodes here or whatever. Like they told us in advance. So clearly it was all one. Like if you view it that way, it fucking works. And it's one of the most satisfying storytelling experiences, aside from the Infinity Saga, that I've ever experienced in my life. And I've been watching a lot of fucking television throughout my life. And beyond books, right? Books are very satisfying in that way, especially if they're big ass fucking tombs, like when you get that kind of a rich story and it all converges and it all works, it's fucking so satisfying. Game of Thrones pulled that shit off. The Infinity Saga pulled that shit off, and Marvel is able to do that. And so anyway, so right now, like it looks like they're again laying the groundwork for things that are going to come. And I'm happy to be patient about it. I don't need to know everything. We've got a roadmap. They're doing another saga, but it's taking them 5 years as opposed to 10 years. That's important. That's important to know. I don't think I've heard pundits, like film pundits online, mention that. It's like, this is taking them half as long to do as the first one. That means the engine's going, and like, but we've seen them succeed before, and they know what they're doing because they've already done it. And it's like, I have complete faith they're going to do it again. And like, once this saga is done, like, it's all going to be as satisfying as the Infinity Saga, and we're all going to be very happy. If we're alive. Because obviously, I mean, we're talking a few more years, right? But anyway, at some fucking point, we're going to get, like, mutants. Like, we're obviously getting mutants sprinkled in. We had Kamala Khan revealed as a mutant. We had Professor Xavier in an alternate dimension. So, mutants are canon in the multiverse, right? So they're coming. So, does it need to happen by the end of Phase 6? No. But we're already introducing stuff, and we're just finishing Phase 4. We have all of Phase 5 and then Phase 6. So if we're introducing stuff now, next year you have X-Men 97 come out, right? Which is the continuation of the X-Men animated series. So that's going to be a big one because that's going to bring young people into the X-Men, you know? Even though, I mean, hardcore, like, you know, X-Men fans that have Disney Plus, they've shown their kids X-Men the Animated Series. I have no doubt that the minute they put that on Disney Plus, it fucking shot up. It was one of the highest viewed things, and that's what made them, like, say, okay, we got to continue this show. Like, this show is money in the bank, you know, and the representations of it, obviously, are being translated. That era's representations of the characters are being translated to the screen. We saw Xavier in the yellow wheel, the yellow hover chair that's in that cartoon, right? Representing the 90s era of the X-Men in the comics, which is what that cartoon was based on, the Jim Lee, Chris Claremont era, right? So they're translating elements into the movies, right? And we've heard the music from the animated show, right, used when Xavier was brought in and when Kamala Khan was introduced as a mutant. So clearly, like, they have a big plan, and like, because things are moving forward next year with the animated show, and that's going to bring in a whole new audience, like, you got, and phase 5 ends, I think, after next year, like 2024, I think. So then 2025 is when phase 6 starts. That's 2 years after the X-Men animated series has started. That means they'll likely have like 2 to 3 seasons by then. And I have complete faith, because they brought back a lot of the creatives from the original show, like, that it's going to be as good as the original show. And they have now another, like 30 years of X-Men lore to kind of take and adapt, as opposed to what happened at the end of the series, where they had to start creating original stuff, and it wasn't really kind of hidden as much, because there were a lot of swings, but it just wasn't going in the way that it was before, because it didn't have like these, like, the backbone, which was like the comic stories to kind of draw from, because it had already used a lot of the significant events, and it hadn't drawn them out in the way that they could have been drawn out, right? So now they have a perspective, they have people involved creatively from the old show. It's going to be big. I have no doubt about it. I have no doubt that it's going to bring in a whole new generation of fans, and then bam, they're going to start seeing these characters on the big screen. So you got to assume 2025, you know? That's 3 years after the show debuts, or like 2 years after the show debuts on Disney Plus. You're already going to have a fan base. You know, they're going to have the toys out. Kids are going to be, there's video games now. Like for so long, when Disney bought Marvel and Fox owned the film rights to the X-Men, so Marvel started to bury the X-Men. Whenever they did Marvel things like video games, toy lines, or whatever, X-Men, invisible. They didn't exist, because they didn't want to promote the characters, because they didn't want to promote their competitors. And so for years, like, I would see all these things. I would see like Marvel posters, you know, like 4 decades Marvel would do these posters with all their characters, and like the X-Men were always fucking there. And then for that whole era post Disney buying Marvel, they were gone. The X-Men were gone from those posters. Like, they would still do these big fucking, all the characters in the Marvel Universe posters, but they would leave the mutants out. It was terrible. It was like the mutants like didn't exist. It's like, it was such a terrible time for an X-Men fan who's like still in the comics, still like all up in the X-Men, you know, from the roots, which is the comics. But now, like, Disney Plus shit, like, I saw a couple of cartoon animatics. No, they're cutscenes from video games that have like Wolverine, and like I saw Apocalypse in one. Like they're using these characters and they're making them visible. Like, they want them to matter again. And that, so you're gonna have the animated show, and then you're gonna have the video games, and then there's gonna be the toys, and then there's gonna be all this shit, and it's all going to blow up the X-Men, and it's going to be very exciting. I'm going to be right here to fucking talk about it. You hear me? I'll be right here to talk about it. Wearing a silly hat, fucking my X-Men jacket, my Infinity Gauntlet, sparkly fucking thing. And I'm going to be talking about this shit because this is awesome. And I don't care what people say about the state of the MCU. It doesn't matter, because we're at a point where we were basically before Avengers, where movies were coming out, characters were being introduced, and, you know, not everything was really kind of like, nothing was really exploding, you know? There wasn't anything like that, just Iron Man. But the minute Avengers came out, that's when everything exploded. Because when Avengers came out, it brought everything together and it teased the big fucking story, the Infinity Gauntlet. We didn't know that was coming. We didn't know. We knew Avengers was coming. We didn't know Infinity Gauntlet was coming. You have no idea how excited I was when I first saw Thanos in that post-credit scene. Being a fan of the comics, buying comics off the newsstand when Infinity Gauntlet was released. I bought those issues off the newsstand. Like, being that kind of a fan, I was so excited to see Thanos. So right now we're kind of, because they did such a good job with the Infinity Saga, they earned this period right now. We're now, instead of doing like 2 characters, you know, in movies that kind of, you know, didn't really pop, they've done like 8. Because they know the formula. And they know that once all these characters converge into like a big event that everybody is just like, holy shit, on the edge of their seats for, like, everybody's going to love these characters and they're going to come back and they're going to love their origins, you know? So, like, they've earned this period, even though people are like, I'm turning off from Marvel, I'm shutting off Marvel, all this bullshit. Like, in the end, they're going to come back when there's a big Avengers show and it's fucking awesome. And then they're going to go back and watch everything again, just like people did when they didn't know shit about fucking the Avengers, all these Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, and then they watched Infinity War. You know, maybe their kid wanted them to go or whatever, and then they watched it and they're like, oh my god, like, what the fuck? How did we get here? And they went back and they watched the entire fucking saga. And now it's all on Disney Plus. All you need is a Disney Plus subscription. You don't need to buy fucking 30 streaming fucking services to find all the movies. They're all in one place and they're ready to watch. So people are gonna have that, and then it's all gonna be fine. Like the narrative needs to be like, okay, like, we see what they're doing, we see what they've done, and where are we going? That needs to be the narrative. But the narrative appears to be right now, as far as my exposure to the kind of the online media space that talks about film and like the fandom and the geeks and the chat rooms and all this shit, is that Marvel is falling flat. Let me explain why. It's like, wait, when you explain why, you're leaving out the fact that they just blew the biggest wad in film history with Infinity War and Endgame, and now they need to like dial it down a bit and fucking lay some foundations. They could blow another wad. But I don't hear that. I hear complaining and like, race swap, women powers, no. I mean, just shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. All right, anyway. Like, let's just enjoy this shit. We're so lucky to be getting it. Like, straight the fuck up. We are very lucky to be getting it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the MCU. I just wanted to drop a few thoughts so that we can, you know, have a bit of a record of sort of where we're at this point. You know, because, like, it's nice for me. Like, I get to go back. I started these videos a very long time ago. I have like full on like edited reviews of like Guardians of the Galaxy and shit when it first came out, because I was in grad school back then and I had a lot of time to kind of just do shit like that because I needed to get my mind off of the fucking crazy grad school responsibilities. And so I put in a lot of work into that shit. It's all there. It's fun. And now I just like to talk because I don't want to spend all this time editing because it's a lot of work. And I love the editing process, but I could be using that time to finish the screenplay I'm finishing. Anyway, that's as much as I'm going to say right now. It's been good to get this off my chest. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves as we move forward in this crazy life, on this crazy planet, in this crazy rock, in this huge fucking universe. I hope everybody just continues doing well, and we'll talk again soon. As always, I want to remind you that if you haven't already, you better put an X in the box because ain't nobody checking me. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.